Good morning, friends. Ash here, NPNP News. It's February the 8th, 2026, and if you had asked me even 2 years ago if I thought I'd still be doing this in 2026, I would have said no. I would have said no, they would have fixed it by now. Yeah, I mean, Trump had a whole first term, and they didn't fix any of the major issues, just the systemic rot that we've been facing, right? Not really, if you look at what we've been dealing with. And now with the Epstein files coming out, it's some people are saying, well, it's a distraction. Um, Somewhat it is, but there's also a lot of evidence coming out, right? Why is beef jerky mentioned 383 times in the Epstein files? People are talking about eating beef jerky. The beef jerky. The beef jerky was so good. Well, what if the beef jerky is made out of human beings? Right? That's a way to store meat, right? That's how people have made certain meats into jerky so it lasts longer, right? It doesn't need refrigeration. It can, you can take it with you in a survival setting, right? You might be like having all your food ran out, but you might have a couple sticks of beef jerky. Well, that might get you by till you can get to help, right? That could be the difference. But what if it's human meat? What if it's human meat, right? I'm trying to blow this up. Hang on a second. Francis has time to come tomorrow. This is an email from Jeffrey Epstein to somebody, Ari the Jerky. So there's people talking about he's going to also bring some of you a taste of how his new jerky recipe from the restaurant. Well, is that human meat? Because we know that the Cannibal Club didn't open, but there may have been some other restaurants that did in a sort of less public way, right? There's secret restaurants that could have possibly opened. Restaurants in the back of other restaurants, like a speakeasy type thing, right? That some of the speakeasies were hidden in the backs of other businesses, like a barber shop, right? And then in the back there'd be a back room or a back area where they could create where there'd be like a small bar, right? So we're seeing a lot of things happening with the Epstein files, for one. Excuse me. I'm in a lot of trouble with my voice. It's 4 degrees here in New York City. Last night the wind chill was 31 degrees below zero with the wind chill. We had winds. We've had a 2-day wind gust of averaging somewhere between 40 to 30 to 50 mile an hour gusts. So if you're on the street last night, you are dead man walking. You're dead. You didn't make it. Right? We don't know if anybody died last night in New York. It was cold enough that I think most people were inside. It was so cold that you just couldn't be out there that long. I've been in. That's probably some of the coldest weather I've felt, and I've been upstate before, where in like 25 below zero with wind chills. So that was about the worst I've ever felt in my whole life. If you were out in that, and I wasn't out in it, but I checked the weather last night and it said it was like 5 or 6 degrees. The wind was gusting and it said it feels like 31 below zero. So I don't know if that was the actual wind chill, but that's cold enough for me to not want to go out. Trump's going to launch the Project Vault $12 billion rare earth stockpile to reduce U.S. reliance on China. So you saw what happened with the silver, right, as well, was that the way I'm understanding what really was going on was it was a couple of things, obviously, right? Is that people are manipulating silver and gold. We know that. We've spoken about that. And the way they do it is through these paper contracts where they can, through a small amount of money, manipulate a larger amount of silver futures or silver shares, right? Of course, they're on paper. Most people don't take physical delivery of the contract that they buy. But what's happened is a large whale has, and this whale, whether it's a bank or an individual, we're not sure, is demanding delivery by February 16th, I believe, of 25 million ounces of silver from the Comex, which is a lot because I think the Comex only has 41 million ounces at this point of silver, which is not much. And what I don't understand, what I was saying before, was why didn't Trump defend the silver price? And they finally did have to step in at some point and do that last week, right? Because of the massive manipulation that we saw, where silver's going down like 40% in a day, right? Which is obviously not normal. And we saw silver, physical silver, leaving the United States and going overseas because it was being sold for a higher price there, which shouldn't be the case. So Trump allowed the silver price to be manipulated in the United States by foreign arbitrageurs and banks. He allowed that to go on, and he stepped in way late to defend the silver price, letting it fall down to, where did it close? Like 78 or something? Yeah, 78.59. It was up $7 on Friday. So that was a strong recovery, showing that, yeah, that's obviously not, everyone's not selling, right? Most of the people that have physical silver, they are not selling. They're holding, or they're trying to acquire more. That's the way I'm feeling about it. And on sites like this, Comex, they are quickly running out of silver. If you try to buy a 10-ounce bar, they claim that you can get the 10-ounce bars, but they're not shipping right away. They're shipping weeks later, if they're saying, right? All these other ones that say alert me, that means they don't have it. All these are out. These are all gone, right? All this is gone. Alert me, alert me, alert me. These are all sold out. All this is gone. So all they got left is apparently some rounds, and you can get silver dollars and stuff like that. But any kind of larger bar, it's going to take a while for you to get. And I don't know about 100-ounce bars. Probably they don't have those at all. They're saying they do. Some, right? 100-ounce bar is going to cost you $8,000. Most people don't have that right now, right? They're saying they have some, but most of them no, right? Most of them are gone, right? Alert me means they're all gone. Even the 100-ounce bars are almost gone. Which means that people are starting to wake the fuck up and realize that we need to get physical silver, like I've been saying. And you notice that 4 years later, after talking about Chiliad, you're starting to hear people talk about Chiliad. I'm not saying I was the first person to talk about it, but I was definitely one of the earlier people too, because I never heard any of these other people even mention it. These Wano Savins, they never even speak about it. And you notice how these people, they're not talking about Trump in the Epstein files at all. Even the mainstream news is hardly bringing it up, which I don't understand. You got him served up on a silver platter with 3 different allegations so far against the president from 3 different individuals. And it's like CNN and these people won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. They don't even want to bring it up. It's really weird. Epstein had a secret child 15 years ago, Jeffrey Epstein. Right. Last dig was Epstein's son. How many other children has he possibly had with these women, where the one model says the baby was taken away from me right away? Another girl, I believe, has the process done to her more than once. So this guy's almost like a John of God also. He might be doing baby factory type stuff on a smaller level. He might be doing arms stuff on a small level. He's doing, obviously he did the Hoffenberg scam, right, where they had their own hedge fund, not hedge fund, sorry, what's the scam called when they do a pyramid scheme? He's in a pyramid scheme where he's ripping people off well before Madoff ever did it, with the former owner of the New York Post, who goes to jail for 18 years for the crime, gets out, starts talking about Epstein again, and promptly dies. You remember, we covered Hoffenberg years ago. Before some of these other pundits were even on the scene, we were covering Hoffenberg. That's why I left 950 different videos, so that some of the newer pundits, the diggers of the next generation, can find that stuff and go dig it, and then do your own interpretation of it, and maybe you'll go even further than I went and find more. That's what I'm hoping to do. That's what people like Whitney Webb represent to me. They're the next generation of diggers and honest truth tellers and way showers who are trying to find the truth, and that's their only motivation. You could see that that's her only motivation. I have a lot of respect for people like that. She's doing a lot of good out there. So hats off to people like her. Her name just popped right out of my head when I said it. I'm sorry about that. CBS News contributor Peter Attia ashamed as crude and defensible emails of pal Jeffrey Epstein emerge, and his job's on the line. Yeah, and plus one of his emails says, I got a new batch of something in. What was that? Some drug? Some kids? What was it? People? Right? There's videos, there's alleged emails that exist that I've seen where he's describing, oh, there's a 10-year-old, and then here's a 10-year-old boy, and here's his photo. And Epstein says, oh, he's, not young enough or something, and he doesn't have working papers or something, and the kid's like 10. Allegedly. Jeffrey Epstein was said to potentially cooperate as his lawyers huddled with feds weeks before his death. So they were possibly going to cooperate. Is that why he allegedly gets killed? Maybe. He sure has a lot more information than, right? But I saw some show saying, well, Epstein Island was never raided. It was raided, but it was raided late. He had been warned that they were coming. NYPD raided Epstein Island along with the FBI years ago, if you remember. Remember the guy with the drone? He's hovering the drone right over Epstein Island as the NYPD and FBI are raiding the island. He's got video of them inside the house. He's hovering the thing right outside the window. Was Epstein about to cooperate? And somebody got wind of that and they killed him? I mean, that would probably force that hand. If he was going to cooperate, that means he could have given up everything. And he knew a lot. He had a lot of secrets. This next story, I couldn't believe it. A hospital was evacuated after an 8-inch World War I artillery shell was discovered in a patient's butt. My only comment was, laugh out loud, I have no words. Certain people like to stick certain things in their orifices. I don't know why. Especially something like that could potentially blow you apart. How did he die, Doc? Well, you're not going to believe this one. Artillery shell in the anus. All right, so we'll move on. Sorry. I could tell you other stories I've heard about other people getting admitted to hospitals with other things in their anus, but let's not go there right now. It's a little too early in the day. House to meet to try to pass funding bill to end partial shutdown. I think that they did end this fake shutdown. I mean, we're just still stuck in this whole thing is fake. We're in a fake matrix, allegedly. So that means all these people are fake, that me and you aren't real. Or we are in some aspect, but not in this matrix we're not. I was talking about a spread in the silver price between Shanghai and the U.S., not gold. I think I said gold by accident. Although it's both, right? The Shanghai price should not be trading $10 or $20 higher than the gold price, than the silver price in the United States. It should be close to the same, within $1 maybe or two, not $8. Stolen land, Grammys rant explodes in Billie Eilish's face as critics demand she hand over her luxury house. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't talk about living on stolen land if you yourself are living on stolen land. Right? I mean, so are most people. If you're living in most parts of the United States, that's probably at some point may have been the land of one of the indigenous tribes. Like if you're living in parts of Florida, There were indigenous tribes that were there. Some of whom got wiped out by the Spaniards who came there first, I believe. I think the Spanish came first to Florida, if I'm remembering correctly, the history. So yeah, same in New York, right? we bought Manhattan for a bunch of trinkets and some bullshit from the Lenape. I think the Lenape Indian tribe that was indigenous to the area. They obviously are looking back at that purchase and saying, you guys owe us a little more money. You kind of got the better end of that deal than we did, right? If you look back at that historically. Of course, it wasn't people from the United States that originally bought that land, right? It was the Dutch who originally first came. So you got to go back and get pissed at the Dutch about it, right? Pretty much, if you a lot of parts of the United States, yeah, you are living on somebody else's indigenous who were there before you, who you either wiped out yourself and took over, or they just moved, or they died out on their own for some other reason. They died out, right? Not every tribe was wiped out by newcomers that came. Some the other, tribes warred with each other as well, right? You ever watch the movie Pathfinder? It talks about. It's not the greatest movie, but it's one of the few movies that talks about the fact that maybe Vikings did come, to the United States way before people realized. And that's the whole plot of that movie. There's a storm, some of these Viking boats get blown way off course and they land in the northeastern parts of somewhere in either Canada or like the United States. And they sail up some of the river systems that you can see. You can go pretty far into the United States with the river systems, right? You can sail into them and access different river systems from the Atlantic. So some people like to boat and go do that. That's kind of a fun thing to do if you have a smaller boat. Antifa militants identify and dox ICE Border Patrol agents across the United States. There's been over 1,000% increase in assaults on ICE since the Trump administration started the president's second term. There's people on the other side saying, well, ICE is militaristic and they could be Mossad agents working. I kind of doubt that. I think they're trying to remove the illegal aliens that they let in on purpose, right? They let these people in and now they're trying to take them all out, and they're never going to get them all. And you didn't even touch any of the gangs in Chicago. You didn't touch any of the gangs in LA. This is all bullshit. You're not really getting the rot out. And they're realizing that they can't, right? Because not only are you going to have to fight these people in the street that are going against you, which you're not doing, you're not pushing them back, but you're going to also have to fight the gangs and other people, right? It's going to get fucking bloody and ugly. I told you that a long time ago. What does that look like, going to find gang members? You got to go into their hood and find them, and they all got weapons, and they got lookouts, and they know where they have intimate understanding of their surrounding area, and you don't. That's not the best situation to be in, right? If you're not going to deal with the networks that are trying to follow ICE and prevent them from working, and you're not doing anything about that, you're not doing anything about Antifa this late in the game, well, what are you really doing then? I wrote, Antifa for the most part also wears masks, right? They want to dox people. Well, then why don't we start doxing these people? Why don't we dox Antifa? How come no one's doing that? Billie Eilish faces demands to return her multi-million-dollar mansion. Yeah, sign it over to the tribe, right? Get your deed and go to the tribe and say, hey, I'd like to transfer my deed to the tribe or to someone in your tribe, or make a trust for the tribe, whatever you want to do, right? Give the deed to your land to the indigenous tribe of that area. If you really want to talk about, right, what you're talking about, that's what I'd do. I mean, if I bought a piece of land near a reservation and it was right next to the reservation, you can't really buy land in the reservation, I don't believe. Not if you're not from that tribe. I don't believe in owning the land like that, right? But if I was next to them, I'd say, hey, you know what? When I die, if I don't have any kids, I'll give the land to your tribe. You can have it and put it as part of yours. You now have, like, the Cherokee Nation, for instance, is so large that it's now surrounded and taken up other indigenous tribes around the area. They're so big. They have so much cash now. They've figured out how to play the game, right? So when some of those tribes, when their kids turn 18, there's already funds waiting for them, like $500,000 that they get. Because these people have figured it out, right? They've played the game correctly, while still maintaining their belief systems. Our voices really do matter and the people matter, and I'm F ICE. Okay, so go get the deed to your land. You're a multimillionaire. You can afford to give up that property and give it to the indigenous. You never do that, though, right? No. But you're willing to live on their land while you talk this bullshit, which is, these people are all hypocrites, right? They're just told to say some crap to rile the left up against anything, right? The Kennedy Center is going to close now for 2 years also. So Trump's, what's this story? Why are you shutting all this down? The center will be closing on July 4th, 2026, in honor of the 250th anniversary of our country. So it's closing for that reason? It doesn't make sense. Okay, I thought you were going to do construction on it, or we already don't have any money. Trump announces trade deal with India after call with Modi. Trump also insisted that India had agreed to stop purchasing Russian oil. I don't know why he's so concerned about that. Why don't you just leave them to buy whatever oil they want and release the free energy? See, he's not doing that. He's not releasing the 0 point. He's not releasing the med beds. People are dying. My fucking dad just died. Right? He could have been helped, right? If you had released the med beds in your first term, I'd still have my father. Other people would have their fucking parents. So you might understand why some people are turning against Trump, because he's not doing any of the stuff, the real big stuff he said he was going to do. And he hasn't even done one of the big things. Like if he had said, okay, we're going to get rid of oil. I got this device. Check this out. It's free energy. It's 0 point. There's so many inventions that have shown us that 0 point's possible already online, that you know it is. Why did Cyrus Parsa get killed? Because he showed you the patent for the UFO. He said the patent's right here and it's open. Anybody could build it. Why is no one making it? I don't know. If I was a billionaire, that's the first thing I would have done. Oh, you got the UFO and the patent? I could have it. I could make my own, and there's no patent on this? Oh, cool. I'm going to make my own, and then I'll patent my design. I'll tweak it a bit, right? Why wouldn't Musk do that? Instead, he's making you some bullshit electric car that doesn't even work right, that's killing people. Eugenics has been revived. Red states civil libertarians urge SCOTUS to fix precedent behind COVID mandates. Courts have been botching the 1905 precedent upholding mandate for vaccine that actually stops transmission since Buck vs. Bell, which upheld forced sterilization of imbeciles, quote unquote, and especially in COVID-era SCOTUS hears. This was done in the past to certain people of different races who were deemed below a certain IQ level could just be forced sterilized. And this was done to some African American women in the South in the 30s and 40s period, I believe, or 20s and 30s period. The Nazis learned the eugenics ideas from us. It wasn't the opposite way around, that they were learned of these ideas, right? Margaret Sanger, people like this were talking about these things at a certain time, that certain races were more advanced than other races were, which isn't really true. We all have the capacity to learn, but they were convinced that certain cranial sizes and certain features in these things were, I don't know what the word is. You can look up eugenics and look into it more on your own. It's sort of trying to classify people by systems that aren't ways of really classifying people. Today we don't do that. But the Nazis learned it from us, just remember that. House GOP chairman rejects unreasonable offer from Bill and Hillary Clinton ahead of contempt vote. So then Trump came in and said, I don't know, it seemed like Trump blocked the Clintons' testimony somehow. CBS News star set to be fired days after hiring over disgusting Epstein emails. What was the new shipment Epstein referred to? Right? Was it women, drugs? I don't know. He's getting shipments of something in. Notorious pedophile New York City doctor once treated Jeffrey Epstein, FBI files. There's been several doctors I've been to that were creepy as fuck. I can just tell you that. I mean, if I'm going to find a proctologist, I'd rather it be a woman, no? For obvious reasons. All right, well, that's the end of all the butt stuff. I'm still thinking about the World War I shell. I mean, where do you find a World War I artillery shell, and where do you have that? Where did that idea come from? It came from the torrid mind of a person with sexual issues, right? Jeffrey Epstein boasted about wild dinner with Mark Zuckerberg and Reid Hoffman, an unsealed 2015 email. Was Zuckerberg on Epstein Island? Maybe. I got a feeling he ate some human meat, though. These people who are eating human meat, that's not good for you. You get kuru. You're not supposed to eat human meat. It's not a good idea. And if these people are making beef jerky out of it, you can see why they look a certain way. They start to look... They lose their humanity, I guess you could say, when they do that. You lose your something. Clintons agreed to testify after bombshell Epstein files released. And did Trump block? I mean, they didn't testify, right? Did Trump block it? Bill and Hillary Clinton agreed to testify. After Republicans pushed Clinton to testify on Epstein, Democrats warned they'll haul in Trump. Trump says, it bothers me that someone's going after Bill Clinton. What do you mean it bothers you? You were supposed to do that your first term. It bothers you? Why does it bother you? These people operated one of the biggest scams known to mankind, the Clinton Foundation, and you did nothing. In fact, it appears to me that you stopped Huber's investigation in your first term for some reason and never reopened it. So the Clinton Foundation never got investigated. JP Morgan forecast gold to hit 6,300 in 2026. Well, it was close. It was on its way until these assholes manipulated it down almost $800. What did gold close at? It was back up to almost 5,000, right? Yeah, it was up 187, 49.82. So it's almost at 5,000. It bounced right back. Every time these people try to manipulate the price back down, it bounces back hard the other way. Almost the next day. So whatever contracts they're trying to do, they're trying to clear positions, it seems like. People who have hedged, who have thought that silver, who were trying to make silver go down all this time, they're trying to get out now because it's going up so fast before they get completely demolished. So we have to wait to see who's the whale that demanded the $25 million, because that's all you got to do to break the system. Just demand physical delivery of the silver contract. They don't have it. And that's what's going to expose the scam. What do you mean you don't have it? How do you only have 40 million ounces of silver in the whole thing? Are you kidding me? We have one of the biggest silver mines in the world in this country, right, at one time. Right? It was called, it was in Nevada. I forgot the name of it. Right? It produced one of the largest silver hoards ever. Not in the world, but one of the largest. I forgot what it was called. It was one of the biggest. Elko, Nevada. 6.4 million troy ounces silver mining in Nevada. Began in 1858. The Comstock lode, right? That was the biggest, one of the biggest. I mean, you could see all these massive. There's all over Nevada. There's gold and silver, all over the place. So we got a lot of silver in this country. We just don't develop it for some reason. They saying it's not worth enough to afford having a mine run, which doesn't make any sense really. Of course, there was silver in parts of Central and South America that was very close to the surface. I forgot the name of that place where people just started digging it up, and they dug a hole so deep that the government had to come in, and like it became super dangerous. Guys just digging holes all over the place trying to find silver because it was so close to the surface and in large amounts. Grassroots anti-ICE campaigns funded by left-wing billionaire donors, sources say. Yeah, they've been doing it. You got to seize these people's money when they do that. There has to be a repercussion when you're found to be destabilizing a country with your funds, right? You shouldn't be allowed to do that but usually what they do is create these, what looks like it's a charity or something, the Red Cross or something, and then it's doing something else though, right? Investigation finds 890 Nazi-linked accounts at Credit Suisse, more extensive than we knew. Yeah, I said certain banks also held stolen Nazi gold. I think Credit Suisse did that as well. They helped them launder the gold that they were stealing from other countries, right? There was also Nazi gold and silver hoards found that they had stolen from other countries, and they had hidden in different mines and different places around Germany and other countries. Same with the Japanese, who stole a lot of gold and silver from places like the Philippines, who had huge silver and gold reserves and have a lot of gold. If you think about all those islands, right? Some of those volcanic islands, man, are all filled with gold. And outsiders are not allowed to go there to look for that gold, which is the right thing. Which means if you happen to be from that country, I'd be exploring, man. If you're a Filipino, I'd be exploring those outer islands, dude. Especially any of them that happen to be volcanic. I've heard stories, and you see some videos which you're not sure if you can believe them, but they're showing big amounts of gold being found, like on some of these islands, not small pieces. I'm talking like pieces, like baseball-sized pieces of gold and stuff like that. Because if the island's volcanic, at some point and that volcano heated up, well, all that gold from the mountains is running down. It's melted into ore and it's running down, and it's going to cool off somewhere, right? And when it does, if it pulls up in the right spot and you find that, boy, that's big. You could find some big chunks, right? That's what I'd be doing. If I was from the Philippines and I didn't have much cash, I'd be trying to find a boat, trying to find some metal detecting gear, shovels and such, and maybe use those things that you hold in your hands too, right? You can use those. Mostly only women can use those more than men. I forgot, what are they? Divining rods. Most people use divining rods to look for water and things under the ground, but you can also look for silver and gold with divining rods if you focus on, or also hidden treasure or hidden things in the ground. If it's whatever you're focusing on, right? If you're looking for, like, say, a hidden treasure you think might be around your property, you can do that, or you can look for silver and gold. And I've used divining rods to look for silver and gold, and it does work, because I used an actual gold coin and threw it in the grass in an area where I was, not too far from where I was, because I didn't want to lose it. And the divining rods, if you stand right over the gold, they'll cross. It does work, but not all men can use divining rods. I think most women can. That's what they used to use the wood for the holly tree for also, looking for gold, silver, for water under the ground. I don't know what it is about the holly tree. It has a magical property to it. That's why they called California, why they call it Hollywood, right? The wood of the holly tree, right? Is what you use to cast spells, apparently. what the wizards or the druids used to use to make a sort of a wand, right? They used the wood from the holly tree to make that wand, like Harry Potter. If you're into the Harry Potter books, right? Some people are into Harry Potter. My mom's a big Harry Potter fan. I don't like Harry Potter. I can't get into these 800-page books anymore. I just can't do it. I don't have the attention span. Mom Donnie takes friendly fire from DSA allies as blizzard of life or death issues from New York City winter storm pile up. He's not doing a great job, I don't think, with the winter. Over 40% of New Yorkers support deporting illegal aliens while souring on ICE tactics. See, that just doesn't make any sense. Well, but almost half the city wants the people removed. Well, how do you think they're going to do it? You just ask the people nicely to leave? Should we show up with limousines and pick them up and give them a free meal on the way out? What do you want us to do? You got to find these people. They don't want to be found. They're hiding. Some of them are criminal, and they're doing criminal acts in our country. They just had a gang of thieves that are illegal aliens, got caught in Midtown Manhattan doing crime, whatever it was, and they let them right back out. No bail. Right back out. No bail. And this is a crew that's knocking stores over and robbing people. And they just let them right back out. It's just insane. It's like there's no law here anymore. It's selective law. 4 days ago, silver went up $8.47. It was $88.51. So it's a full $10 less right now. Elon Musk's SpaceX merges with artificial intelligence startup XAI. So these guys are putting in the system while you're busy looking in through the Epstein files and talking about beef jerky. And yeah, there's a lot of revelations in there. People like Epstein, people like Gates have been completely exposed. I think Trump's completely exposed. What is he? He's not even. He's saying that he's out there saying that the Epstein files, he's vindicated somehow. How are you vindicated? There's 3 different people accusing you of sex crimes in there so far that have come out. Plus other women in the past that didn't have lawsuits that also accused you during the pageants of coming into the dressing rooms and shit like that. The E. Jean Howard case, I think, is a complete bunch of bullshit, right? Obviously, because if he raped you in Bloomingdale's, there'd be video camera footage of him in the Bloomingdale's walking into the dressing room. That's all he should have said, is where's the camera footage of me walking in that dressing room? Show it. And I'll get down on my knees and I'll apologize to this woman if you show it. Because that puts me right in the place, right there. There's no footage of that. I worked in security. Believe me, Bloomingdale's and these stores, there's almost no blind spots. There's some, but most times the dressing rooms, that's for sure they got a camera on that entrance because that's where a lot of the stealing goes on. So that was bullshit, right? But come on, man. All these other people, these lawsuits of kids saying you raped them and different stuff, you think that's all just some nothing? It's sort of making sense what Trump's role was now, right? He was the money laundering mechanism for a lot of stuff. He had big casinos, not just one. He had Trump Taj. He had more than one casino at one point, right? As one went out of business, he came back with, I think he had 2. Taj Mahal, of course, was the big jewel. Right? That one went out of business. He drove that one into the toilet because it never was supposed to do well. Crazed woman who allegedly bashed diner with a glass bottle and attacked 4 others in random spree is cut loose by the judge and the DA. This happened in New York also. This woman just went into a restaurant, grabbed a glass or something, a bottle, and smashed it over somebody's head. Like out of nowhere, right? It's like these people are just activating chaos mode. Jeffrey Epstein, victim had baby fathered by the pedophile, snatched away 10 minutes after birth. Billionaire had multiple secret children and hoped to create superior gene pool, right? It's talking about Ubermensch, right? It's the same fucking thing. It's boys from Brazil again. We have superior, or what we think is superior genetics. Right, but you don't have superior physical genetics. That's the problem, right? Is Woody Allen somebody you'd think of as somebody whose DNA you'd want to use to make the Ubermensch? Probably not, right? He's not. He's physically frail. He's small. He's not muscular or in shape in any way, shape, or form. He never was. Same with Epstein. He's not particularly in shape. He's out of shape. He's all these people have is some brain power, but they don't have any physical traits that anybody would want. You need both, right? You can't have all brain and no brawn. I am unsure if organized crime took over the fur workers union. That may be incorrect, so I'll have to go back and check. I used to actually work at one point briefly in the fur workers union at a job that I got, which I then lost, or I quit. I can't remember. I think later on the fur workers union there was some kind of impropriety went on. I'll have to look into it more. It's a long time ago. Shortly after midnight on the morning of June 13th, 1942, 4 men landed on a beach near Amagansett, Long Island. I was talking about spies who had infiltrated from a German sub. This is FBI.gov history. Famous cases, Nazi saboteurs. George Dash, you can look up, D-A-S-C-H. These guys were caught right, close to Montauk area. Amagansett's right next to Montauk, so not far away. And these guys apparently swam off a Nazi sub that surfaced briefly and they got out, right? That's why they were asking organized crime and during World War II to keep an eye on the docks, which they had control of in the city, right? They had control of the docks. Organized crime. Vietnam is secretly preparing for a second invasion by the United States. I said, say what? I found that hard to believe. I think we learned our lesson the first time. That's not somewhere we want to go back into. Very, very difficult terrain, thick soup. I would talk to my uncle who was there. He said, I never saw forest or jungle like that before. It was so thick. It wasn't forest. It was beyond, it was jungle, right? And he said in some places it's so thick that you literally can't move. You have to chop your way through these areas. And imagine trying to chop your way through an area where at any moment, you don't know, 5-10 feet away, there could be a guy pointing a gun at you and you can't even see him. That's how thick the jungle is in some parts of Vietnam. Of course, it has all kinds of different terrain. It has open areas too. It has jungle. It has mountains. It's a very tough place to conduct a war. We found that out the hard way. Jeffrey Epstein laughs and chases young woman around his kitchen in Pedophile Island. It's funny, the Daily Mail spells pedophile P-A-E-D-O-P-H-I-L-E, but it's actually not the way it's spelled, I don't think. So there's all this footage now coming out of him with these young girls. Why does he have these young girls? Well, he's impregnating some of them now, you understand. They're not just there to, for his sexual peccadillos and to do the massages. He's impregnating these women and then keeping them prisoner, I'm assuming, on the island for the gestation of their... But where are these girls' parents? I mean, usually if your kid disappears for that long, you'd go find them. Are these Illuminati families who are going along with it? Because I've long read that certain Illuminati families share their kids with each other sexually. And if a higher person in that order comes to you and says, hey, I like the way your wife looks or something, you got to let them apparently do whatever with your wife. And you don't got to say in it if you're in that world, I'm saying. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard it is. I've heard that it is. Jeffrey Epstein approached Peter Mandelson about advertising jobs for Leonardo DiCaprio, saying the actor wanted to make some money outside the U.S. Like he needs to, this guy, DiCaprio? He's one of the highest paid actors in the world for years. Why would he need to make extra cash for when you're making 10, 20 million a picture? I looked up New York City's highest murder rate was actually 1990. There were 2,605 murders, not 3,000. I was off by about 400. But that's about triple what an average year is now. Like we average maybe 800 to 600, 700, 800. Now that year was almost triple. So I just wanted to show you that when the crack hit New York, which was around 89, 90, 91, so much money was generated and so many different gangs and organized crime groups were really the mafia and others were vying for that power, but then there were smaller groups that were selling the crack in different parts of Brooklyn that generated so much cash that stories came out like of these dirty cops, right, who were robbing the drug dealers because there was so much money that people had literally like vats full of cash in stash houses, right, because where are you going to put it all? You can't walk into some small bank with, a vat full of $100 and $20 bills and say, I want to open up a savings account, right? 10 men were charged over the rape of a drugged 5-year-old boy at chemsex party in France. So unfortunately, this kind of horrific stuff goes on. Who is Gabriela Rico Jimenez? The Epstein cannibalism whistleblower's video goes viral amid I Love Torture video revelation. So this woman was a model who was attending some event where she's alleged that she came out and alleged that they were eating a human being inside. In other words, it was a cannibalistic type event. Where they showed you they'd done that before with the fake body that was lying in the thing with the fake blood, that people were like taking bites of that, like it's a cake, but they actually probably do that with a real person, right? What's his name said that he was at someone's house and opened up the refrigerator and there was a dead baby in the fridge. Who was that? Keanu, I think, said that. I can't remember the star. And was like so freaked out that they just left the guy's house, whoever they were, where they were. Cannibalism whistleblower mysteriously vanishes after making wild claims. She warned us. Yeah, that girl disappeared right after she made the claim. The cops arrested her and she vanished, right? Was she actually telling the truth? I think so. China unveils video of proposed Star Wars warship that can fly on the edge of Earth's atmosphere and deploy nearly 100 unmanned fighter jets. That, to me, looked like the craft from, like, the Avengers movie, the G.I. Joe, where they have that huge craft that actually works on, like, gravitics, though. It's not, or it has, like, these big turbines, I forgot what. It has all those crazy guns. They were going to use that to take out all the people. Remember, that was in the Order Out of Chaos thing I was talking about. Arnim Zola, right? We were talking about Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and there's a lot of stuff in that movie that shows kind of like what they're doing, right? Where Arnim Zola is talking about like how could we infiltrate what was the OSS that would become the CIA, the Nazis who came over? How could they infiltrate? Well, that's what they did. They infiltrated the OSS. They infiltrated what then became the CIA. And they started to do the Order Out of Chaos ideology, right? Which was the rest of the 20th century wasn't a particularly fun time, right? There was war in the 50s, war in the 60s, war in the 70s, war in the 80s, war in the 90s. Every decade had a war. You went from Korea to Vietnam to smaller stuff. Iran-Iraq war. The Gulf War, all that crap. The first Gulf War, it's all engineered. Zulu King demands migrants leave South Africa. So if you better self-deport if the Zulu don't want you. These people, they'll make sure you leave. They might kill you. They've killed others in the past. Right? You ever go look up what Shaka Zulu did. Go look up the story of Shaka Zulu. And talk about a hero. Talk about a fighter. Talk about somebody who stood up against almost impossible odds, right? To fight for his country. That's a hero. You better self-deport fast if the Zulu King doesn't want you. Prince Edward becomes the first royal to speak out on the Epstein scandal and says, remember the victims. He's the only one who even said anything. And then, of course, another photo came out of Andrew on top of some woman, or like on all fours, looking at some woman laying on the floor who may or may not be conscious. We don't know. Amazon driver's furious expletive-laced rant about deliveries captured on doorbell camera. It's funny because the Amazon driver's like, these people, they order everything. They can't go to a Target. They can't get in their car and go. I totally agree with you, but if those people do that, you don't have a job. Because that's what Amazon is. It's like, yeah, we got everything you could freaking imagine on this thing, and we could deliver it to your house within a day. That's what Amazon's good for. Right? Something you can't find it anywhere else, we got it on Amazon. Right? They put so many other businesses out of business, and they just take all this shit. We got all the stuff. Yeah, we got it all. Find some razor or some crap you never heard of for 20, we got it. Right? We'll bring it to your house within 24 hours, maybe. We got gangs of these kids all over the street in New York, with these trucks taking up spots all over the place. And they're not particularly nice people, some of them. They're rude. Some of them smoke weed and do other drugs. If you ask them to move their packages off the sidewalk out of the way, they get nasty. They take up large parts of the sidewalk sometimes. Images of New York City mayor with Jeffrey Epstein are AI generated. Here's how we know. So there was all these photos came out of like Epstein but he did apparently come into contact with Mamdani's mom at a party. She said he was at some party for an opening for her movie or something. We know about your mom. Zoran Mamdani faces heat over Epstein. Yeah, her mom apparently knew of. Now the question is, was Mamdani abused by some of these groups as a kid? Maybe. His mom was in the circles. Allegedly, it appears to me she was in the circles. That's a Times of India article. Gold and silver bounce back after sharp sell-offs. Jeffrey Epstein brokered secret meeting between Qatari and Israeli leaders. So he's obviously he knows Ehud Barak, who's former Mossad. Isn't Ehud Barak, I think, did he run the country at one point? I don't know. He was high up in the country, we know that. And he was at his house many times. The other part of it is that he also knows Putin, and apparently had met Putin or was going to. Jeffrey Epstein was Vladimir Putin's wealth manager. FBI source claimed the newly released Epstein files. Well, we know that Putin has a lot of money. He has at least one mistress that we know of, possibly more. He has multiple children out of, with some of these women. He's got a lot of cash. We don't know his exact net worth, but I'm assuming it's over $100 million, I would assume. Unbelievable sadness. Melinda French Gates responds to Bill Gates' claims in latest Epstein files. So he's been publicly humiliated, Gates, now, right? We now know he slept with multiple different women. He apparently at some point acquired an STD from sleeping with some of the women provided by Epstein. And one of the women even they found emails from one of the women talking about what STD she had and, what medicine she would take and this and that. So apparently, allegedly, Gates is freaking out because now he's worried his wife's going to get the STD. And, you'd think if you're a billionaire, why would you need to write to Jeffrey Epstein to get antibiotics? You don't think that as a billionaire you could find a way to get yourself some antibiotics? And come on, man. It just doesn't make any sense. Why is he writing to Jeffrey Epstein describing the way his penis looks? It just doesn't make any sense. It's laughable at best. But the point is that the email apparently exists where he's telling Epstein, I don't want to work with you anymore, right? It's getting, I could get in trouble with this relationship now as Epstein's getting more and more in trouble and in the press. And even Gates' wife is saying if you don't stop hanging out with this guy, like it ends up breaking up his marriage, right? French prosecutors raid Elon Musk's ex-offices as part of probe into child abuse images and deepfakes. Yeah, there's something definitely wrong with the algorithm on X, too, because nobody's watching any of the videos I put up there at all, almost. It's just amazing. Like, it's almost as if there's like something over my accounts wherever they are that nobody gets to see it. Because I was getting like double and triple the amount of views on Rumble that I'm getting now. Which means either people are just fed up with listening or they don't want to hear my show anymore for some reason. Well, that's on them, right? I can't force people to listen. But I've been right more than I've been wrong. I think part of it is that a lot of disgust with Trump right now, and people who thought that Trump was, that's why a couple of years back I said, Trump's, I think, a Trojan horse. And I told you why I thought that. That turned out to be correct so far. Otherwise, you'd have had free energy, medical beds, the Tesla towers would have been created, you'd have a new banking system by now. Instead, the Dow just hit 50,000 in a propped up fake system. And I'm thinking, what the hell is this guy doing? How are you going to make us go into a new system with all these hedge funds, with all these pension funds invested in the stock market that has to crash? Melinda Gates throws ex-husband Bill to the wolves over Epstein. You've got some explaining to do, right? Who used to say that? You got some splaining to do, Lucy, right? Desi Arnaz, remember Lucy? I Love Lucy. I used to love watching that show as a kid. It's funny, I was just thinking about when I was a kid, I watched all the African American TV shows that aimed towards, African American audiences. Everything from Sanford and Son, The Jeffersons, Different Strokes. What was the dance show where, Soul Train, right? I was even like a kid watching Soul Train as a kid going, I liked all the dances, watching all the dancing. I couldn't do any of the dances. I was like, 7 or whatever. But I like watching all the kids and like dancing and stuff. I don't know why I liked all those shows. I watched all the white shows too, but I watched like all the shows, that you'd think that a white kid wouldn't watch. I watched them. And I love those shows. I love the characters. I like the people on them. I fell in love with those families and characters as a kid. Of course, you didn't. And then you realize later what happened to like the kids on Different Strokes. Most of them didn't end well for them, right? Dana Plato died of drugs, and I think Willis also had a drug problem. Arnold had issues with drugs too. The little Arnold. Who knows if they were abused? I'm assuming they were. Sarah Ferguson sent email to Jeffrey Epstein about a single woman with a great body he could marry, and arranged to meet him with her daughters days after his release from jail. So she knew he was getting out of jail. Hey, I have somebody for you to meet right away. It's almost like these people think it's their job to find women for this guy. I mean, why? Why are you currying favor with people like this? First they came for the plastic pigs, but I was not a plastic pig, so I said nothing. PJ Media. I like to say it. This article was interesting. Right, this is talking about how there's certain businesses in areas where now Muslims have moved in, and the Muslims are saying, we'd like you to, take down your barbecue sign for your restaurant, or we find it offensive. And the people are saying, well, that's, then don't go there. I mean, what do you want me to just, I'm not going to change my business sign for because you don't like it. I don't like the fact that maybe a lot of your people from your religion are moving into my neighborhood and making it different. Maybe I don't like that. But I don't tell you to change, the way your mosque looks because I don't like the way it looks, or right? Or what about your 5 o'clock in the morning call to prayer? Maybe not everybody likes that. Maybe I'm trying to sleep. Right? I got to get up at work at 7 o'clock, not 5. You're robbing me of 2 hours of my sleep. You're waking me up. But the point is that you're moving people into areas where they weren't before in massive droves, and you're not giving them any way to assimilate. And then the people who are in these areas are going, what the hell are you doing? You're destroying my whole area here. You're destroying my city, my town. Not to mention that a lot of these people are becoming violent. They're attacking the people in these areas. I've seen many videos of it, not just one or two, plus the pickpocket videos going on in Rome and in parts of Italy. But that's been there. I talked to my friend who lives in Italy. She said the pickpocket situation has been like that for a long time. That's the Romani that are doing that. That's the Roma, right? That mostly are doing it. They're the gypsies, right? That's what they do. They do different crimes, the gypsies. That's all they do is crime. Pretty much. They don't assimilate into society. They don't buy a house. They don't pay taxes. They move around. That's what they've always done. Stop trying to change the place where I live, right? By you coming in here. You can live here, but you can't tell me what sign to put on my restaurant. If you don't like my sign, don't look at it. If you don't like pork, don't eat it. But don't tell me I can't have a pork restaurant or a restaurant that serves pork products. If you don't like pork products, don't fucking eat it. The worldwide humiliation of Bill Gates, from tech god to global embarrassment. Yeah, he really is he's a disgrace. And he's also a criminal that has poisoned different people in India. He's poisoning people in the United States with his fucking chemtrail shit that he's trying to do, or in Europe, wherever he wants to do it. They should have been hung a long time ago, these people, but instead they're being protected. Opinion piece, New York Post, Michael Goodwin. The Clintons knew Team Trumpers coming and waved the white flag over Epstein. What do you mean they knew he was coming? He's defending the Clintons now, saying he doesn't like the fact that they're being questioned. What are you talking about? He had plenty of time to go after the Clintons. He stopped the Hoover investigation, or somebody within his orbit did. Why doesn't anybody ask that question? You notice how the press around Trump, they don't ask anything. If they do, he just says, oh, yeah, that's a stupid question. And he doesn't answer it. ICE nabs illegal alien New Orleans police recruit who was issued a firearm. Here's another illegal alien that almost became a cop. That's the second time I believe that's happened. Can you imagine? I believe this happened once before. Mamdani ripped over hunt for personalized Carhartt jacket ahead of winter storm. That's all he cared about with his stupid jacket, right? The mayor's uniform should be a dress suit, right? Or a regular suit that you'd wear to like a stockbroker job or whatever, right? A suit job. It's not a job where you have a personalized jacket made up. I don't know who started that stupid trend, but that's not usually how it works. You want to have some bomber jacket that says mayor? Okay, great, whatever. I don't think you need that though, right? Most people know who the mayor is. Why don't you just wear a sticker on your suit that says mayor? Isn't that easier? No, this guy's got to go get a specialized jacket made up. Fucking idiot. Opinion piece. The biggest hidden secret exposed in the Epstein doc dump. There's been a bunch of things come out about the beef jerky. Something like that comes up 383 times. Here's an opinion piece. The biggest hidden secret in the Epstein doc. Here's Epstein talking about with Bannon, he's a tier 1 sex offender. They're saying, oh yes, the millions of pages contain some fine gossip and a bit of genuine scandal. A once top official in Britain's Labour Party is now facing jail for taking bribes from Epstein. All the details on how the elites work offer some fascinating insights, and the likes of Casey Wasserman likely deserve a few hits to their reputations. But no sign of the giant pedophile honey trap blackmail operation that many once anticipated. Yeah, it's like small things, right? But you're not getting these massive information. Where's the 200 people that were on the island? You still don't have their name. Where's the 200 people's names? The Andrew, formerly known as Prince, was exposed long ago. A few others stand revealed as enablers or worse, but Larry Summers, Noam Chomsky, and Mayor Zoran Mamdani's mother, Mira Nair, who was once at a party that Epstein attended, are guilty of, at most, unwise associations or poor taste in casual friendships. Yeah, but you don't know what other events they may have been at together. You don't know if they knew each other more. At this point, anyone pretending to root out the secret meaning of the Epstein files is a fool or a knave. Really? See, this guy doesn't talk about any of the things that came out against Trump. He just glosses it all over, right? What about the 3 allegations that are out there? He doesn't even bring it up. It's not that the diehards will never give up. It's that this information is out there. It's in the files. It's just people aren't talking about it. I don't know why. Son of late dictator Gaddafi was just murdered at his own home in a cowardly and treacherous assassination. So Gaddafi's son, who was trying to do stuff to help the country, was also killed. So forget him coming back to lead the nation now. Inside rise of LA's super gang, united by secret Mexican mafia pact and soft law. So this could be La M, becoming, which is Mexican mafia, right? Which runs a lot of prisons inside this country, believe it or not. They're the ones running it, not the guards. Trump hasn't touched the biggest gangs in this country, I wrote. Hasn't even mentioned some of them. Right? He doesn't talk about Mexican mafia. He doesn't talk about all these groups. And now, the more I watched a lot of these videos, you could see it's like these guys are throwing up signs in like the Sixes and shit. That's, I'm pretty sure, Crips. A lot of these rap stuff is like all infiltrated by like gangs now, like bad. It's really, really bad. It's way worse than it ever was. Feds investigate alleged Chinese-linked biolab found in Las Vegas home. There's 2 different biolabs they found now in this country that they were allegedly doing some bad stuff in there. So, friends, I got to take my first break. I'm thinking it'll only be a 1-breaker today. About an hour in, so it's about the right time. Coffee's running dry. Hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. It's just unbelievable how it seems like this information comes out and then, oh yeah, there's really nothing in the files. Really? So why are they talking about beef jerky so much? Why is beef jerky so popular with these people? You wouldn't think it would be. Well, if it's human jerky, right? You can dry meats out. You can make any meat into jerky, right? You can make bison meat into jerky, human meat into jerky, deer meat into jerky. Remember years ago, my friend went to Texas, and he went hunting. He caught it. He killed a deer, and his mom or his grandmother made this. Took the deer meat, right, and made it into like a sausage, patties. And oh my gosh, man, you cook those patties up and then put some eggs in that grease, and you make that up. That's the best tasting thing I'd ever had. Better than any sausage I had. And you could taste the difference. It definitely tastes different when you're eating like venison, right, or deer meat as opposed to like a cow, right? So I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center. I'm doing all right. I'm just been like sort of hibernating this weekend because it's so cold. The Super Bowl's tonight. I heard a lot of people talking about the Super Bowl's fix, saying it's the Patriots. So we'll see. Patriots, I'm calling it Patriots. I don't know if it's going to be a high score or not. Maybe. But point is it rigged? And a lot of people are saying, yeah, it's rigged. It's the Patriots going to win it. So we'll see. The favorite is, I think, Seahawks, right? They found multiple biolabs. What the hell's going on with that? Are we going to have a new silver price at some point? I think so. I think what they're doing is they're getting rid of the paper contract market. That's going to go away. It has to, because that's the manipulation mechanism that they're using. And it's also used not just on silver and gold. It's probably used on platinum and palladium as well as some of the other maybe markets also. That whole thing has to go away. But that doesn't seem to be what's happening. I mean, I thought the IRS should have been gone by now. They're still around. We still got to pay taxes this year. I thought we were going to get rid of all this stuff and have a new quantum banking system. We were supposed to have free energy. We were supposed to have medical beds. It's like the list gets longer and longer of what this guy hasn't done. And meanwhile, he's just obsessed with these one or two things, the illegal aliens and Greenland, right? And you never found out, why is Greenland so important? Is it an energetic center? Is there something underneath Greenland? Is it? Right? We don't know. We don't know anything. We don't know. All this big war is supposedly going on. Why can't we see any of these alien people that apparently are around and saying, hey, we're right here. Well, show yourself to us. What are you waiting for? Why are we sitting here and doing the same bullshit year after year, wasting our time? Right? Wasting our time while people are dying and dying and dying, and you could have saved so many people's lives. And they just don't want to come out with this information. I just don't understand it. It's really mind-boggling is what it is. And the only thing I could come to a conclusion about with it is that these people are not who you think they are. They're not going to do what you thought they were going to do. They never were. And maybe they're just going to break the whole thing apart. But when you break something, there's got to be a way to fix it. There's got to be somebody who knows how to put it back together. If there isn't, then you got a bigger problem. So friends, I'll be right back in one moment. I'm going to go get this coffee. I hope you're well. While I'm doing that, you could do some sit-ups, push-ups, and burpees, and I'll be right back. Thanks, friends. Okay, friends, I'm back. Thanks for that break. I needed it. As to the Super Bowl, I heard somebody put $1 million bet on the Seahawks. Didn't the Seahawks almost win it one year and they lost it right at the goal line on the Rams, was it? Or are the Seahawks going to be able to break through? I don't think so. We'll see. The guy that's coaching the other team, right? They won 13 out of their last 14, I think, to get to where they are. They went on a streak that almost no one had seen. Feds investigate the biolab, Chinese-linked biolab in Las Vegas home. There's another biolab they found, so there could be others. Holman announces the drawdown of 700 federal personnel in Minneapolis, cites unprecedented cooperation. Are those groups going to be allowed? I hear that the same people running those groups there have already come to New York and have already told the people here and trained them how to do the same thing. But New York's a much bigger place than Minneapolis, first off. It's not going to be so easy for groups to just show up in an area real quick unless you have a very large network, which you're not going to have. And the NYPD is not going to be as acquiesce so easily as Minneapolis did. They're going to keep protesters further away, I would think. Top Mamdani aide who'll help pick New York City judges is special advisor to law firm accused of massive fraud. So Mamdani's already he already had to replace several people whose either their past comments on their social media appear racist, or they're just not a good candidate, and other people and players in the game are like, what the hell are you doing? Why would you put this person in? Who's advising this person on who to put in there? It doesn't seem like he does. He doesn't want to put anybody white in, right? That's for sure. He just put somebody, a felon, in charge of running the prison system here, which I don't know why you would do that. Major U.S. ally launches probe into whether Jeffrey Epstein was working as a Russian spy. I think this guy's selling information to anybody, the highest bidder. If I got compromat on somebody and you want it, I'll sell it to you. Fulton County fights to get election materials returned from the FBI. They don't want their FBI having all those documents. Historians rank Trump as the worst president in history and Lincoln the best. I said the worst. What about Bush Sr., Jr., Nixon, Clinton, Biden? Those are also horrible presidents, all of them. Especially Bush Sr. Look at the damage that the Bush family's done to this nation. The grandfather selling steel to to the Germans in World War One. I mean, these people are a family of traitors, and they've had two different people in this family be president. There should be a rule that if someone in your family, like your dad's the president, then you're not allowed to be the president if you're his son or whatever. That should be the rule. You don't think that Trump's kids, one of them is going to probably come out of the woodwork and try to run? Probably. That probably make it Ivanka. She's the most dangerous in terms of a candidate that could win, a political candidate. Senator Mitch McConnell's hospitalized with flu-like symptoms, so we don't hope for anybody to check out, but it would be great if maybe this person did, unfortunately to say, but they're doing so much damage to this country, these people, both the Republicans and the Democrats. Melania issues withering responses. Reporter stuns First Lady with Ghislaine Maxwell question. Yeah, the stink of Epstein's all over you now. You can't get rid of it, right? She can't go in a public spot trying to pump her show, her thing, Melania, her documentary, because there's going to be a question about, hey, did you send this email to Ghislaine? Yeah, she knew Ghislaine and Epstein before Trump. I told you that. One of those people in Brunel's orbit, another guy who had a modeling agency, was the one that found Melania. So Trump didn't know her first. Inside Epstein's obsession with brunette immigrant he molded into Ivy League dentist. Not enough kisses, not enough time, not enough sex. Was this the one girl that he was going to leave? It looks like he was maybe grooming this girl, right? To take his spot, to be like him. He was going to give her the island and $50 million. That's, that's a good start, right? For anybody. And plus his Rolodex, right? The contacts that he has are worth a lot of money to certain people, right? I rode with ICE on the frozen streets in Minneapolis. I saw migrants getting arrested. The front lines are nothing like what you see on TV. I'm sure they're always different. Like on 9/11, they showed the towers falling 5,000 times on the air, but I saw it with my own eyes, and it's different when you see it like that. It's visceral. You can hear it. You can see it. You could smell the smoke of it. Later on, you could smell the death of it. You could smell the people's bodies rotting in there. Imagine you're sitting in your apartment with the window open 3 months later, and you start to smell something that you're not sure what that smell is, and then you realize what it is. And it's in the air. And you got to shut your windows, or else how are you going to go to sleep with the smell of a dead corpse in your room? Going to have some bad nightmares that night. And these are the people that told us the air is safe to breathe, right? Like 2 weeks after the thing falls down, there's smoke everywhere. You could smell the smoke even at 96th Street. You could smell how bad the smoke is burning, right? And they're telling people that are 10 blocks, 8 blocks, 5 blocks, 12 blocks away that the smoke's okay, that the air is clear, you could breathe. Are you fucking kidding me? I couldn't even stay outside without anything over my face for more than 10 minutes. I tried to walk out of my apartment to the village where the nearest train was running, and I couldn't do it. I got overwhelmed by the smoke and I had to turn back. All I had was I had no mask. They didn't even give us any. All I had was a wet rag over my mouth and my nose. I couldn't make it, dude. Smoke was too powerful. I didn't even make it 3 blocks. And when I tried to drive out, a couple of days later with my pets, I told you what happened. I got confronted by National Guard unit that pointed an M16 rifle at me and told me to turn my car around, or I would be shot. I said, "You're going to shoot me right here on the highway with my cats in the car?" He said, "I will if you don't turn around, sir." I just stood there for a second. I said, "Wow, man," I just turned around and left. What am I going to do? You can't push that situation. The guy will put you down, right? So that's what these people did, right? They told you the air's okay to breathe, so you think I don't... That's why I don't trust these people. I haven't trusted them my whole life. I've been dealing with the bullshit and trying to uncover their bullshit for 25 years or more. Not to print it out to anybody, just so I could know what happened and try to tell others. Epstein linked to designer baby empire and latest files that reveal bid to engineer superhumans. Yeah, but it's like you're trying to just make like what is that guy, Brainiac, like Unimind or whatever, that guy with the big brain, right? You want to make the guy like all Brainiac but no brawn. Like, it has to be a balance. Ubermensch was supposed to be the best genetic specimens, right? Physically and mentally. Not just mental. It seems like he's concentrating on more of like the mental aspect of it, but these are all mostly people you're hanging with who are genetic defaults, or genetic defects, right? People like Woody Allen, people like, what's the guy in the wheelchair, right, who's supposed to be brilliant? Stephen Hawking, right? These are people who are mentally, though physically defective, right? Hawkins has a disease that makes him all gnarled up, and he's, right? I don't think I'd want to use his genetics to make the Ubermensch, because, yeah, it's going to be smart maybe, but he's also going to have genetic problems, right? That maybe you're going to, edit that out with CRISPR, I guess, right? That's what these guys are doing. They're gene editors, so... yeah, he might have that issue, but we can just gene edit that part out, right? We'll make the guy stupid smart like Stephen Hawking and super strong. Like a bodybuilder strong, right? New York City socialist mayor sympathizes with knifemen who charge the police and urges the DA not to charge them. The mayor, first of all, is not supposed to get involved in matters like this. Secondly, he's saying that that this guy was supposedly schizophrenic. He's in the home with the parent, the mother. The cops show up, and this guy grabs a knife and rushes right at the cops. Now, what if that was a social worker? What's he gonna or she gonna do? She's in the house now, being rushed at by a male who's with a butcher knife. What are you gonna do? Are you trained for that situation? Probably not. Do you have any way to protect yourself if you're a social worker? No. Unless you're very good with your hands and you maybe know jiu-jitsu or something. Otherwise, the odds are you're going to probably get stabbed or killed or both, right? By this kid who lost his shit when you came in the house. So no, a social worker is not a good thing for these kinds of situations. Oftentimes, as you can see, they're violent. Now, did the cop have to shoot him? Could he have put him down with the taser? Yeah. That's why I think they really need to reissue the baton to all police, because that's a great weapon for that situation. I'm in close quarters with a person with a butcher knife. I could use that baton very, very well in the close quarters to defend myself too. Right? I can strike with it. I can use it as a blocking to block. The taser is, a good weapon, but I have to get it out in time. I have to activate it in time. I have to shoot it right in time. And if a guy's coming at you with a butcher knife and you only have like a second or two, you might not be able to get it out in time. The baton, though, I can get out real easy and fast. And if I hit you once with it, you're going to know, right? I could probably knock you straight out with it if I have to. But a social worker is going to be ill-equipped to deal with anything with violent related. And that's not you might want to have a social worker who is mobile, working with a police unit maybe. That I could see. But you can't just send a social worker in to a violent, possibly violent situation alone with no training and no weapon to protect themselves with. You're going to get somebody killed. That situation would have probably been a murder of the social worker unless they could get out of the house fast enough or grab the guy. Washington Post fires hundreds of staff and shuts entire sports department in brutal cuts. Well, the Washington Post is a shitty newspaper. No one's reading it anymore because you're not telling the truth. You haven't for so long, and you've just become such a tool of the left that people just stopped reading you. Same with the New York Times, but people still read it here. That photo of Andrew with his arm around Virginia Giuffre is real. And I introduced him, admits Ghislaine Maxwell, and damning emails that blow Pizza Express alibi apart. Yeah, we know that that photo's real. You know, we know that Andrew used to party a lot in the 90s, right? He was all over the place partying and taking all kinds of drugs. Everybody knows that was in the party scene back then. You can go back and look at pictures of him partying with all these Illuminati people. Epstein files sparked ludicrous conspiracy theories that the pedophile financier fathered Island Boys brothers and even New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani. I could see the Island Boys. Them Island Boys, right? You ever seen them Island Boys? Alright, I'll look up the Island Boys so you can see these freaks and what they look like. Hang on a second. They got dreads, they're like white. Here's the American rap duo, here they are. These guys don't look human, do they? Here's the alleged photo of them with Epstein. It sort of does look like them, though. This is what they look like now. Right? They like sleeve tatted. They're tatted all over their bodies. Their faces are tatted. They got crazy dreads. They're horrible rappers. This is the Hindustan Times. Who are the Island Boys' mom and dad? Alleged baby pics with Jeffrey Epstein raises questions. It all makes sense. Frankie and Alex Venegas went viral as Kodiak Red and Fly Soldier, together called the Island Boys, and now viral photos have drawn Jeffrey Epstein links. Well, we don't know if this is them. These two kids don't look the same like these kids look. They're like twins, these eyes almost. So I don't know if the Island Boys are... I could see that they might be. Although if Epstein's their dad, they're pretty stupid. They're not nearly that very smart, so they didn't get any of Epstein's brain, I guess. And as you can see, Epstein is not exactly what I would call, great genetic stock. Nancy Mace demands Bill Gates be subpoenaed over Epstein after ex-wife Melinda's heartbreaking interview. Gates never got touched. He's still out there. A lot of these people are just, they never got touched. I keep seeing all these videos. Arrests are happening. Arrests? Where? What arrests? What? Who's are being arrested? Where's the big arrests? I'm not seeing it. Anybody in Gitmo yet? DOJ removes new Epstein files that mention wild Trump sex allegations, including rape. Right? They removed it, and then they had to put it back because people already screenshotted it. Why are you removing files that have Trump in them? Yes, Trump. I wrote. Yet Trump keeps saying that the release of the files somehow clear him. Yet his name keeps coming up again and again in different allegations. And nobody's in the press is asking about any of these allegations, really, because he's controlling what press is near him. Trump panics after teen's diary reveals the worst. There was also a diary that a teen wrote in a sort of code, right, that nobody could crack it right away, but then they did. Obviously, it wasn't a hard cipher to crack, but it was in code where it wasn't written normally. And she was also talking about being abused. Losing a child, I believe. Whereabouts of former President Evo Morales are a mystery in Bolivia, UPI. Ryan Ruth was sentenced to life for the attempted Trump assassination, if that was real, which I don't think it was. U.S. wants to create a critical minerals trading bloc with its allies to counter China. I wrote, the U.S. government steps in to defend the silver price from international arbitrage and stopping the power of the paper contracts markets, if that's what this was. This might be something else. But what they basically seem to have done is made silver into a critical mineral, right? Which it is. You can't make a Scud missile without silver. You can't make a lot of things without silver, like satellites, weapon systems, etc., computers. You need gold also to make computers. There's people that say, if you know how to extract it, you can get gold out of old computers. There's gold inside the old computers. Mamdani, New York City Health Department staffers launched Global Oppression Working Group accusing Israel of genocide. I just don't get it. You're the New York City Health Department. Just do that. Excuse me. Just concentrate on that. Why are you talking about any other countries, whatever? It's not in your purview to do that. You're not a political organization. You're running the health department. Just that's what you're there to do. Do it the best you can, and don't politicize that role. I wrote, this isn't what government's supposed to be used for. Just do your job. Run the Department of Health. Clean up my city. It's freaking filthy here. It looks like after this weekend we're going to get warming trend, the next 2 weeks of warming, at least here. I saw 30s and 40s, so we should finally be able to melt all this ice that's everywhere and snow. We've never had snow that lasted that long. Usually after it snows there's a couple of warmer days coming and a lot of melting goes on, but that hasn't happened this year. And in New York it's particularly disgusting because people are just letting their dogs piss and shit all over the ice, and all kinds of other crap is stuck in there now. A threesome, sex acts, and $250,000 hush money. Exotic dancers sorted claims against Epstein and ex-Prince Andrew. These guys are doing all kinds of sex stuff. Apparently they're both sex addicts. Right? That's what they are. People like this become sex addicts. They want to have sex multiple times a day. Maybe they're using, Viagra or stuff like this. Who knows? Why the Epstein files are reviving a conspiracy theory about Wayfair and human trafficking. That's also coming back because one of the emails was saying Woody Allen's assistant. Why did Woody Allen's assistant send Epstein a very expensive Wayfair package? So were they doing the Wayfair thing? There was allegations that some of the pieces of furniture or things were like thousands of dollars that they should have. Like a pillow was $5,000 or whatever. So. Was that really deliveries of children? It's possible. Although you wouldn't live too long in a box, probably. They'd have to do it a special way. There'd have to be some kind of special service within UPS or within these things where it's like a code or a special way, or it would have to be handled by a certain kind of, maybe person that would not normally just deliver the normal packages, right? Maybe. This is a Gizmodo article I had found about it. But it's actually not an article. It's just like the headline, and then you can't read any more about it, which is weird. But the Wayfair thing we had heard about, right? That there was, the allegations were that they were somehow emailing human children through the Wayfair packages system, right? People were buying the children on Wayfair. At the product was an expensive product, usually with a coded name on it, like a child's name, which was how you'd know. It would be like the Jenny pillow or whatever, where it was $10,000. Representative Liu says Epstein files have allegations of Trump raping and threatening to kill children. That's in there, and he's right. Actually, about that. Of course, he's a Democrat bringing that out, but almost nobody else is even talking about it. It's just odd. That was a brief section on C-SPAN that Lou was talking about. Of course, he's been a big anti-Trumper. But I'm just wondering why aren't the mainstream press who hate Trump, who viciously hate him, they're not bellowing these allegations from the mountaintops, or even talking about it at all, which is just, to me, seems odd. Jeffrey Epstein's secret tunnel underneath the island lair, a sinister trapdoor is revealed. So there was a trapdoor that was in one of the sauna rooms that they showed. Was that another way into the tunnel underneath his house, besides through the elevator that they had in the sort of fake building, the building that looked like it was sort of like, different colors that looked like a church or something? Jeffrey Epstein appeared obsessed with a tunnel at his Caribbean island lair, emails released by the Department of Justice suggest. For years, the late pedophile took a great personal interest in the tunnel, sending emails to staff to check on renovations. Let's see if we can see the tunnel real quick. There's Epstein's island, and there's Epstein, of course, with one of his planes. Here's the tunnel hatch. A mysterious trapdoor discovered on Epstein's estate on Little St. James. So that hatch goes to, obviously looks like it goes down about 6 feet to a, or 8 feet to a lair, right? A subterranean. This is the tunnel system. It's right here. It exists. There's the creepy room with the dentist chair and the faces on the wall. Of course, we saw this already. Here's the drawing room or the sitting room with the writings and the weird chairs. No trespassing, private property, St. James. There's Andrew over the woman laying on the floor. Bill Clinton in the blue dress. The painting. There's Bill and Epstein overseas. So there's the sauna, the shower room from inside St. James. So there is a tunnel. It does exist. And he was very interested in that tunnel. And the renovations of the tunnel, what they were doing. Then in a flurry of emails starting in April 2015, he was told by an aide, tunnel floor completed. In 2012, Epstein sent a message to an aide saying, thanks, I want the floor done in the wood tunnel. All the equipment moved out. Floor done on Thursday. Left till Monday, thanks. So it looks like they did lay in a floor. They put rock down, or this was wood at one point. So he obviously tunneled down. 2 months later, he was sent an email headed tunnel maintenance, which said, as requested, floor plans of the existing tunnel building and maintenance building with square footages. Several months after that, he asked an aide, why are the rusty lockers still there? And was told, I'll throw them out in the morning. In November 2017, Epstein sent an email to 2 others convening a conference about the tunnel. He wrote, I'd like to have a cell with you both today. I need help thinking about how to reorganize the island, move laundry, additional staff, tunnel move laundry. That could be moved. That could be code for like move people out or dead bodies that might be still there. We never heard if they searched the ocean floor in the area around Epstein Island, because it was rumored that there were human bones there. But I don't ever recall if divers actually dove around the island to catalog any, like the waters around the island. Most of which are shallow, would there be human bones around there? Paul Weiss chair Brad Karp to step down after revelations about relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Tens of thousands of New Yorkers are left without heat, without heat as temperatures drop to 4. Yeah, it's 8. It's not feeling too good. You don't want to be jogging around down by the Hudson this morning, I'll tell you that right now. You better have a couple layers on if you're doing that. Tens of thousands of New Yorkers have no power, no heat. That's there's certain laws in the city, right? Your apartment has to be, if it's below 50 degrees, your apartment has to be, I think, somewhere around 68 degrees in the side of the apartment, or somewhere around there. Or is it 58 degrees? That's too cold. They got to keep it at a certain temperature, is my point. If they don't, they're in violation. You got to get enough heat pumped in. And then when it gets this cold, you got to pump a little extra heat. Especially at night. Some landlords used to shut the heat off at night. You'd hear it pop on around 5, 6 in the morning. It's on a timer. That's great, but what about the middle of the night? I'm freezing my freaking ass off in here because you're cheap. New Yorkers runaway $115 billion Medicaid gravy train needs oversight in light of Minnesota fraud. Yeah, it's way bigger here. We have more people, and they've been doing it longer. We have more dead people on the rolls. Opinion piece. China maxing is TikTok's latest senseless trend, as young people romanticize living in a communist society. I wrote, there's no cure for stupid. Want to go live in a communist society? Go move to China. Good luck. You can't own land in China unless you're married to a Chinese citizen either, by the way. You can't go there and buy land. They won't sell it to you. You might be able to buy some kind of a condo or co-op unit, maybe. I don't think so. You have to be married to a citizen. Dramatic video shows the moment NYPD shoots knife-wielding man, but Mamdani wants to send social workers. Yeah, I mean, imagine you shot this poor kid right in front of his family, you traumatized everybody, but I mean, why is this kid's first instinct to run at a cop with a freaking knife? And why is a butcher knife just laying around like right near where the kid can grab it? It just seems odd. I wrote, a social worker in this situation would have probably been stabbed unless they're good at hand-to-hand combat, which most aren't. Bernie Sanders spent over $550,000 in 2025 campaign funds on private jets, filing show. He's not a man of the people. He's not driving around on a bus doing it hard the old school way. No. He's flying private. Living the good life. Opinion piece. How California Democrats manipulate the governor's race. This was done by one of the guys that ran in the race and got screwed. I wrote, he leaves out the most important part. They rigged the actual vote counting, right, for the recall election for Newsom. They changed the votes on screen during the recall election, and they got caught, and Newsom still, right, somehow didn't get recalled, even though they showed literally on screen how they cheated. That's how illegal that election was. So then the bloodbath day came. Silver went down $13. Gold was down 137. Bitcoin went down 8% to 69,000 a coin. And I saw XRP at $1.36 was like the lowest, or $1.20 something. That was at $3 not so long ago. So that's lost over half its value. Bitcoin's lost. Where was Bitcoin at? It was $50,000 higher. It's lost almost 50% of its value. Things are getting destroyed. XRP down 37% that week. Bitcoin is down 21%. So they lost huge amounts of money. The morning briefing. Village idiot Karen Bass fudged the Palisades fire report to save herself. Yeah, she fudged the whole thing. They set those houses on fire on purpose. That land is worth a lot of money. They don't want people to rebuild there, obviously. It's the old map that we showed you. The UN map, the 2030, Agenda 2030 map. Where certain areas by the coast are going to be off limits to human habitation. That's what they want. That's why they make these UNESCO sites, right? They want to take them over. All the UNESCO sites should be returned to their countries, and the United Nations should remove that designation and remove themselves from those countries. China syndrome. Biolabs in California and Las Vegas were raided by the FBI tied to indicted Chinese national. The FBI believes that a years-old biolab in California and a newly discovered biolab in Vegas are both tied to a CCP-linked Chinese fugitive currently awaiting a fraud trial. Remember a while ago in California that another illegal lab was discovered because there was a water hookup illegally outside the building that somebody was walking by and noticed something and said, that's weird, and called somebody to check it, and when they went to check the building, they realized there was people inside the building doing something. And the building on the outside looked as if it was abandoned. The one thing they made the mistake was they were pumping water into the building from some outside source. And the hose got exposed and they saw the hose. House to vote next week to require citizenship check and photo ID for voting, upping Senate pressure. Yeah, you have to have this in place soon, because how else are you going to stop the illegal voting that they have, illegal aliens voting? House Majority Leader Steve Scalise said floor vote will force Democrats to declare where they stand on two election integrity items widely supported by Americans. Right? Most Americans support a voter ID and a photo ID as well. Should probably be photo ID, fingerprint also, right? Something that's hard to fake. Holograms, photo ID, and fingerprint. Well, that's pretty good. That's 3 levels right there of protection. But we need some kind of photo ID system because too many illegal people are voting that shouldn't be voting. No illegal aliens should be voting. Only American citizens. I wonder how many elections have been stolen over the last 50 to 100 years. Probably the majority of them. I mean, you remember we talked about how they used to use the gangs to control the wards of New York, and certain people would be kidnapped and forced to vote 3-4 times in a day. Used to call them cooping gangs, right? You ever hear the saying, I feel cooped up in my house? Like now I feel cooped up in my house for 2 days, hibernating during the ice storm or whatever we're calling it, the great freeze, where half the country was, weather modded into this freezing pattern which we can't seem to break out of. New York County dropped sanctuary bill after resident pressure. So this is the first county in New York that's not a sanctuary anymore. It's on Long Island, of course. This legislation prioritizes ideology over safety, weakens cooperation between levels of government, and places unnecessary financial and security burdens on our community. Yeah, that's correct. We don't have anywhere in our Constitution that says I have to take in people that illegally sneak into my jurisdiction and take care of them. No, you've snuck in here. That's on you to take care of yourself. I'm going to do everything in my power to remove you because you're here illegally. That's why they call it an illegal alien. You're not here legally. You're illegal. You're an alien. You're not from here. You're from another place. You don't have a reason to be here. You didn't get a work visa. You didn't go through the port of entry. You snuck over the border illegally. If you sneak over the border of my property onto my property, we call it trespassing. You're trespassing. I have a right to shoot you, maybe, in defense of my property. DHS confirms capture of 4,000 illegal aliens in Minnesota as the drawdown looms. So there was illegal aliens in Minnesota. There was over 4,000 of them in there. There's probably way more than that. What about all those Somalis that are there, some of them illegally, who are having kids now and saying they're American citizens? New York City knew about potentially deadly risk of 9/11 toxins, but insisted that Lower Manhattan was safe. I remember them saying it. I remember when the governor came out and said it. That she said it was safe. She stood 2-3 blocks in there and said the air is safe on a day when you could smell it everywhere. It smelled like toxic burning metal. That's what melted metal. That's what it smelled like. I'll never forget that smell to this day. They told us it was safe. This is my quote. Myself and many others knew at the time it wasn't. We knew it was toxic, but had nowhere to go. The government didn't want to evacuate Lower Manhattan. They wanted to reopen the stock market. That's what all they cared about, which had been closed for some time after 9/11, if you remember, due to cleanup efforts. And that's why they wanted to get the metal out so bad, because there wasn't a lot of metal left, and nobody was really asking the question, where's all the rubble? This thing was a 200-story things just fell down. There's not like 20 or 30 stories of metal all over the place. No, there's almost no metal. There's 2 or 3 stories of metal laying around. That's it. I know. I was there. I looked at it. I physically saw it. Where'd all the metal go? Well, a lot of it got dustified apparently, which you can see as the towers are falling down. All the dust. All that stuff turned into dust. There was a lot of paperwork in that building that was going to indict Bush, right, too. Bush was being actively investigated for a bunch of stuff. Bush Sr. PJ Media, in Virginia, you must love Islam or else. Right. Right? You can't question. They're trying to put laws in place now. You can't question this even, right? You can't say anything about Islam. If you do, we're gonna, or like any religion, they're gonna try to say you can't question it. If you do, we could throw you in jail. Really? Don't I have freedom of speech? Still, I thought. Match.com sent Jeffrey Epstein dating profiles of 18 women after he registered as a sex offender. DOJ files show. So shouldn't you have a list of all the sex offenders, Match.com, so you don't make sure that that name is blacklisted in your system? I guess you didn't do that, right? Because you were sending Match.com matches to a known sex offender. Now, any of those matches that got sent to Epstein can sue you. Tattooed Antifa madman busted in Minneapolis after calling for murder of ICE agents. Yeah, this guy's going on his long, Facebook saying he's so pissed off and we got to do something. Yeah, well, if if you're going to get inflammatory like that and try to stir up people to violence, you might get some people show up at your door, right? You should never talk about trying to be violent, right? There always should be another way first. Violence should never only be a last resort with anything, as far as I'm concerned. Right? If my life's at stake, if I have nowhere left to go, I'm trapped, my loved one's life's still at stake or something, you're on my property, right? There's certain instances where, yeah. But otherwise, no, right? If I could walk away, if it's an argument, you said something I don't like, right? It's easy to get yourself hurt, especially in a place like New York. I can go out in a bad mood one day, some guy bumps me, you say the wrong thing, you could end up dead. Right? Over nothing, over some stupid misunderstanding or whatever it is, right? So, when you grow up in certain places, you realize that you got to be careful what you say and what you do. Especially what you say online when you're talking about violence. The Washington Post fires nearly a third of its news staff. Good. You're a bunch of liars anyway. You shouldn't have a job. If you're lying to the people, you shouldn't get paid for it. Some of those people aren't all bad. I'm not saying that. Some of them are just good people. They're doing the grunt work that it takes to keep a magazine or a newspaper going. And they don't deserve to get what happened to them. But, be careful who you work for, right? Is what I say. Not all media is good media. Right? If I can do this for 6 years almost for free and never take a dime from you, do all the research myself and do all the work on my own, how much could 50 people do with that same ideology? A lot of damage. A lot of damage. Because they're not motivated by anything except the truth. They're not motivated by money or greed or lust or any of these base emotions, these egoic things. They're more, their interest lies in other areas. And they cannot be manipulated in the normal way that you can manipulate certain people who are greedy. So we have this whole other drama, right? The news anchor, Savannah Guthrie's mother's been abducted, apparently. There was arrest over fake ransom notes. To those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from the situation, we will investigate you. But my thought is, first of all, one thing is they're not demanding a proof of life, which is what you would do in an abduction situation. Before you would pay a ransom, you'd usually have to get proof of life. I need to know my mother's alive. She needs certain meds to stay alive, and she's not getting them for a week now. My assumption is she's almost dead, unless they've given her those meds in some other way, or this is a fake event. It can only be one of those 2 or 3 things, right? It's either a fake event, or it's real, and she's in dire straits because she doesn't have her meds and she's been abducted by some group or some person. Or it's, I don't know, right? I don't even know what the third thing could be. It's either it's fake or it's not fake, right? But why didn't she offer more money? They're only offering a $50,000 reward, and Guthrie's a multimillionaire. So my point is, she could offer $1 million reward instead of 50 grand. 50 grand's nothing. How are they going to do the money exchange? Obviously, this person who's, if they are holding the mother, is going to be highly dubious where they're going to make the exchange. They're going to probably get caught at the exchange, is how they usually do it, right? Why isn't Guthrie offering a reward, or is that the reward that she's offering? Only 50 grand for her mom's well-being when she's a multimillionaire. Something is strange about this whole thing. A bunch of stuff is strange about it. Cuban president says he's willing to hold talks with the U.S. One day ago, silver was up $5. Ended up at around $78. Gold went back up towards towards 5,000. It was up $159 to 49.55. So right back up, right? Gold was at 5,500 at one point, right? There was a big arrest in California, human trafficking sting, 600 arrested, National Post. Bitcoin slips below Bitcoin slips below 70,000 as crypto sell-off continues. All leading U.S. stock market benchmarks declined on February 5th as geopolitical tensions and tech-related weakness weighed on equities. Yeah, I mean, one day everything was down. All the cryptos, all the gold, silver, everything went down that one day. Bitcoin lost close to half its value since the $120,000 top. Right? People were saying that was going to go to $1 million, No, it's not. It's going to zero. I'm pretty sure, because I don't think most of these coins are necessary. And people are saying XRP is going to be the thing. I don't think so. Not $1.20 a coin. Okay. If it's going to be the thing, wouldn't it be worth like hundreds of dollars a coin or $100 a coin? Some of these coins are worth over $100, those crypto coins. It's not XRP though, which is Ripple. World Economic Forum investigates its CEO over Epstein ties. So the World Economic Forum's now getting pulled into this. I think Keir Starmer, or one of the big guys in the British government, was the guy who was pitching in his underwear. Who hangs around in your another guy's house in your underpants? And your tighty-whities? I never liked those tighty-whitey underwear. Democrats just gave away the real reason they're fighting immigration enforcement. Yeah, they need the votes to stay here so they can keep getting reelected. People like AOC and Mamdani, that's the only way they can get elected, is only 1 million people vote for them. So they have to make sure it's that the other 6 million people in New York, I guess, didn't vote. I wonder if they could take a poll of every New Yorker's vote, and find the other 6 million people and say, hey, why did you vote? Why not? Because it doesn't make sense that 6 million people didn't vote in an election that big, with that much at stake. All right, something smells about it, and nobody ever looked into it to figure out why. Shocking, $8.6 billion new fraud uncovered in California. So there's so much fraud, it's like everywhere. The whole country's fraud. Like I said, the whole country's like basically set up as a fraud mechanism. This government, right? There's all kinds of ways you can defraud it, you can steal from it, you can make appropriations that you don't need, you can make all these different shadow organizations that get all kinds of money that don't do what they say they're going to do. Some of them are helping to smuggle drugs and human beings into the United States. Top secret U.S. Air Force jets spotted near Area 51 amid Trump's UFO disclosure claims. So is he going to finally do something about Area 51? Because it's almost 2 years into his second term and he's not done anything about it, right? No UFO disclosure, but all we keep hearing is, oh, there's another UFO spotted here. There's UFOs here. They're talking about it now. But why isn't any government showing you, hey, we have one. We reverse engineered one. I'm almost positive that they have. That the United States has. Probably China too. Former West Wing star Timothy Busfield was indicted on 4 counts of sexual contact with a child by the grand jury. So he was just indicted. He's in big trouble. And he's not just indicted on 1 count, it's 4 counts. It's basically all the counts were when he was indicted on. He's been indicted on 4 counts of sexual contact with a child by a grand jury in New Mexico. I mean, he could be facing a substantial amount of time in jail if he gets guilty on all 4 charges. Could be the rest of his life. ICE arrests New Orleans police recruit revealed to be an illegal alien in 2022. Timar's application for a permanent residency was denied due to fraud. So here's this guy, the second person that almost becomes a police officer, who's not even a legal alien, not a legal citizen of their country. You should not be allowed to. You're not allowed to become a police officer then. People have found Epstein accounts. Norway launches new Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Hang on a second. One of these videos was the one that was talking about the beef jerky. They're saying, is he still alive?
Epstein is still alive. In the Epstein
so
files,
this
is a receipt from...
hang on one second, guys. This is the Osmongold clip I wanted to show you. Osmongold is... he's kind of funny. He gets deep into the Epstein stuff. He doesn't pull any punches. I like people like this. He's on YouTube. I'm on Osmongold Clips on YouTube. This was 2 days ago, reacting to the massive drop. So let's listen to this, because it's only about a 3-minute clip. But I wanted to listen in because he gets into some of the stuff that's going on. It's pretty... that Epstein apparently had some Fortnite account, and then like it was accessed, and this... So like a bunch of little things here. And then, of course, this picture surfaces. Some people think it's like Epstein with longer hair. It doesn't look like him. But anyway, let's just listen to this Osmongold clip for about 3 minutes.
YouTube, where his username is LittlestJeff1. Hello, Littlest Jeff 1.
It's Little Saint Jeff.
Littlest Jeff 1.
It's Little Saint Jeff. But anyway, go on.
There's a charge in May 2019, but he died in August. Wait. Chapter 5, Season 1. Wait, that was recent. Epstein's Fortnite account is active in Israel? No. Fortnite tracker. All right, gentlemen, we have the Fortnite account right now. Let's pull it up. The profile has just been made private. Wait a minute. Can I look at this on Wayback Machine? It has not archived that URL. Epstein just privated his account. I have screenshots of his stats confirming he's alive. How is this proof? Okay, so this is why people think that it's Jeffrey Epstein. He got a charge for $25 for V-Bucks on Fortnite. And this was on May 7th, 2019. And this is, again, keep in mind, justice.gov. This is the government website for Jeffrey Epstein right here. And this is Littlest Jeff with jeevacation@gmail.com. It could be a troll, but how could it be a troll if they did it so far in advance? The account isn't brand new. It was discovered. My guy faked his death and immediately started playing Fortnite. Fortnite Chapter 1, Season 10 ran from August 1st to October 2019. Crazy. Get the screenshot of him playing Season 6 before it's too late. Where are the other screenshots of this? I want to see it. It says I can't edit the post. Where's the Imager link? Matches. So and wait, this is Season 4, and he had an 8% win rate? Look at Chapter 3, Season 17. 17% win rate? He has kids playing for him? He's in Tel Aviv playing Fortnite. This could be... Wait, this is his WoW account? Wait a minute. Context. This is the Department of Justice. Jeffrey Epstein played WoW. And he was a wrath baby. This was right before Cataclysm. Wait a minute.
So he played World of Warcraft. It looks like he may have... Either these accounts weren't him or they were someone else, or who knows, right? But these accounts existed. Apparently they were named Little Saint Jeff. And he's saying that there was access to these accounts after his death by somebody. Well, there was the allegation that, Epstein was seen on the island again on a satellite or something, like getting out of one of those vehicles, and he was looking up. There was that one photo.
No. He was Horde? I knew it, guys. I knew it all along. He has heirlooms? Yes, he has heirlooms, which means that this is an alt. This is an alt character. This is Epstein, isn't it?
I mean, they're saying that they think this is Epstein. The nose doesn't look right. The face doesn't... I mean, it could be him, I guess. It's kind of hard to say. They're saying that this guy's got an earpiece. These guys got earpieces. Are these guys Mossad or something with him? This is Epstein, isn't it? A woman of letters writes on her ex. Sure looks like him. Where was this taken? But I mean, it could be. This was in Tel Aviv, Rothschild Boulevard. Somebody writes.
Dude.
Could be.
Who is this guy? Someone posted the photo without the beard on your Discord?
Something looks off about it, but maybe.
Guys, okay, I'm gonna save this photo though. So, which one is better? Okay, that's a better photo. And why is it not? What the fuck? Why is it not? Why is it doing this? Like, what the fuck?
I can't save it. Look.
What the fuck?
It's like, what the fuck? I can't save this thing. Like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Guys.
He's like, what the fuck? I can't save this photo. That's like, so obviously that probably is him, right? That's the Asmongold clip. That was funny. But does his accounts, did he still have World of Warfare account? I don't know. Norway launches new Jeffrey Epstein investigation. New York City socialists use California playbook to form anti-ICE teams to monitor Home Depot and other workplaces. So what happens in New York is, this probably happens in other parts of the country. There's certain blocks in Brooklyn where illegal aliens go and they queue up in the morning usually looking for day labor work type stuff, right? And sometimes they will hang out by like place like Home Depot where like a lot of construction guys come to buy certain products, right? And maybe they need to subcontract some work out, like day labor stuff, right? Like whatever it is. They could be just straight construction, carpentry stuff, other stuff like building stuff, whatever, right? Which is illegal to do. In other words, you're not allowed to just go be illegal here, sneak in, and then have some sneak into a spot and have a guy pay you illegally, off the books money. But that's what happens in a lot of places, and it happens in New York every day. Where if you know where those blocks are, the guys will be queued up, and you can go pull up in your truck and say, "Hey, does anybody know how to do landscaping? Does anyone know how to do cement work? Does anyone know how to do carpentry? Does anyone know how to do pipe work or that kind of stuff, right? Plumbing, electric work." New York City socialists use California playbook. Gaza's gargantuan rebuild has now begun after last hostages finally returned. I guess they got all the bodies out of the buildings that they could. The last hostage has been returned. Now they're going to make Trump Gaza. 3 men rescued by the NYPD after falling through ice in the waters off NYC. Yeah, there's a lot of ice forming. It's not fully iced, so do not go out on the ice if you're in New York. It's a bad idea because the ice is different thicknesses, levels of thickness. Sometimes a chunk will break off and then you're in worse trouble, or you fall through and then you're almost dead. Don't go on the ice. It's not stable. It's a bad, bad idea. When I was a kid, it fully froze all the way, and I think some people did walk all the way across it, which is a really stupid thing to do because it's a long walk, and, if you're out there in the middle and you start to get into some spots where it's more the current, it's not going to be as thick, the ice. DOJ emails reveal Jeffrey Epstein was asked to fund telepathy experiments and met with Spoonbender. So, okay, now we're into the Matrix stuff. He's looking to meet with different people with psychic abilities who are smart, right? They're looking to find people to make that super soldier who might have psychic abilities, right? This has already been going on. I'm pretty sure I may have been involved in something with like Looking Glass. I'm sure because I have scars on my body that I was strapped down to into something like a chair, and there's different chairs we know that exist. I remember in Keanu Reeves' movie, in Constantine, when he wants to go to hell, right? What does he do? He has to sit in a chair. He has to sit in an electric chair, right? Put his feet in the water, and then he can go through some kind of experience where he can use the water as a gateway. The View is set to be investigated by the FCC over bias after hosting Democrat candidate. Yeah, they only host Democrats. They don't usually have Republicans on there too much, which is a problem when you're only representing one side and not the other. You're not giving the public a full view, right, of the different political ideologies, the different political parties and what they stand for, and they should each get equal time, especially in election cycles. Fully unredacted Epstein files will be revealed to Congress in just days, so that's a big deal. Some of these files, remember, 25 men made deals with the DOJ whose names have been redacted. 25 people. I'm assuming those are the biggest names who are involved the deepest in this thing, right, are the ones that you'll never see their name. So just remember that 25 people made deals already, according to Ghislaine Maxwell, though. Right? Girls coming after school and $5,000 cash floats, the full sordid truth about Andrew's wild 9-day visit to Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion. Remember, when Andrew's visiting, he makes a critical mistake, right? What is that mistake? Well, he answers the door when one of these girls is coming over, and there was press outside who photographed him at the door there, right? Letting the girl in, which proves that you were there, right? You weren't staying in a hotel. You were staying with Epstein in the mansion. And apparently a stream of young women were seen coming and going from this place while you were there. Jeep and Ram maker crawls back to gas engines in embarrassing U-turn after huge EV losses. Yeah, the problem is it's a bad engine design. It's not going to run a very heavy truck like that. You're going to have to make a massively heavy engine, which means it's going to get worse mileage. It doesn't work well in cold weather or hot. The charging mechanism on these things doesn't work well in those two conditions, which means if you want to go on a long road trip, you could get stuck somewhere for a long-ass time if it's not the right temperature, right? Which is a big problem. NFL fans adamant Super Bowl is rigged as leaked footage of stadium preparations goes viral. Yeah, they showed them doing a rehearsal for fireworks that were the same colors, red and blue, I think, as the Patriots. So some people think that it's rigged now, but I think it's always been rigged for a long time before that. I don't think all the sports are rigged because it's hard to do that, but you can rig some of them. Football's one you could rig for sure. Basketball's another one that's easy to rig because I only have to make a couple of little mistakes, and it still looks like we're trying. We might even still win and cover and just not cover a spread, right? And we could do it like that. That's called like point shaving and stuff. It's harder to do. Another big one that they used to do is they take somebody who's like an undefeated boxing champ and tell them, listen, you got to lay down. We're going to send this Joe Palooka up there and you're going to lay down for this fucking guy. And if you don't, we're going to put a bullet in the back of your fucking head, or we're going to strip you or do something to you, right? We'll threaten your family. And some guys had to do that in the past at threat of your life, right? Like when Tyson loses to Buster Douglas, a lot of people are like, who the hell is this guy? How does Tyson lose that fight? Does he really lose it, or was he told he had to lay down? I don't know. Because Tyson's not the type of dude that likes losing, right? You know that. Is the Super Bowl rigged? We'll see. I'm assuming if it's rigged, I don't know. I think it's going to be New England. I'm calling New England. We'll see. White House insider blames bumbling boomer for Trump's racist Obama video. His insiders reveal frantic calls. So apparently somebody who had access to the X account, I guess, or his one of his True Socials, posted this video where it shows different Democrats as different animals, just to give you the full aspect of it. I'm not saying it was correct, but unfortunately it shows the Obamas as like apes. You know, like an ape body with their face. I think Pelosi was like a bird. AOC was something, right? They were all different animals, but I guess maybe you should have made them a different animal in the video. Because it looked really racist, right? And it looked really bad for Trump. And they had to take it down right away. But I don't think Trump actually posted it in his defense. Fauci fallout. New NIH chief says all gain-of-function research has been stopped. Well, that's good news. No lockdowns in the future. Gain-of-function research is a controversial form of science that tries to enhance deadly viruses and bacteria to make them more deadly in an effort to study future pandemic. And that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of a reason to make something. You would never do that. Part of you, when you sign, the Hippocratic Oath says do no harm. That's doing harm. That's making a virus more lethal. It might get out and kill a bunch of people. That's what they wanted to do. Why do you think they have all these zombie movies and shows and all these things where these epidemics get out and all these people die? Right? They keep making the same movie over and over because they want it to happen so bad, but they can't make it. They're trying to make us produce it, and we won't do it. They want us to co-create it. They want the metal. Whale demands physical delivery. Breaking banks. Here's the video I was talking about. If this whale demands physical delivery of the silver, does the Comex even have that much silver to cover this 25 million ounce position? My answer was no, I don't think they do. Not if there's only 41 million ounces in there. Not if you want to cover everyone else's positions. You think that's the only whale that wants a whole bunch of silver? Maybe delivered now? Because now everyone's going to want it delivered because they don't think it's there, and it's not there. Just like as if everybody goes to the same bank tomorrow and wants all their money out, in a bank check to take it out tomorrow. They don't have it. In fact, I've heard people going to the bank and asking for $10,000 withdrawal in the bank saying, hey, you might have to wait a day or two for it. We don't have it right now. We don't even have 10, 20 grand. Which means how much of my money do you really have? I'm supposed to be all there whenever I want it. If I want to close my bank account tomorrow and I go to the bank and it's 50,000 or whatever in there, you should be able to cut me a bank check for that day for 50,000 bucks or whatever my account's worth. I shouldn't have to wait. U.S. sets June deadline for peace agreement in the Ukraine war. June? That's a long way off. That's almost 4 months from now. There's a lot more people could get hurt. Why don't you do it now? Force it now. I don't see anything happening over there. Temple University student charged in St. Paul church storming admits that he helped Don Lemon with logistics and local contacts. Richardson surrendered on federal charges and admitted that he assisted Lemon, indicating that Lemon planned to go into the church with the activist group and that it was not simply passive coverage of the incident. Right. He wasn't just walking down the street and said, oh, look at these protests going on. Let's go see what's happening here. Oh, they're going in the church. I'm going to go along with them and see what's going on. I just happen to be passing by. No. You embedded with these people. You knew who they were and they helped you. That's not news. That's making up a fake incident and then trying to report it as news. People have found Epstein's code word, jerky equals child meat. Here's the other thing about the jerky. So let's watch this. Is this another Asmongold clip or is it somebody else? Yeah, here's the other Asmongold clip. And here's about the jerky, all right? So we're going to get into the jerky email. So if you find this upsetting, you might want to tune out for this part. It's going to be talking about alleged human meat being made into jerky that these people are eating, right? Or child's meat that's being made into jerky. Is the jerky one of those keywords like the other keywords they were using in other, like pizza, right? Or chicken is this, means this, and a young boy means this in the logos that in the different language that they use, right? Here's the first email. It's to Jeffrey Epstein. Email from Redacted about the jerky. Francis has time to come tomorrow to show me how to make it. Jerky, anyone? He will also bring you a taste of his new jerky recipe from his restaurant and sends a warm hello. So is this guy making human jerky and feeding it to like people in his restaurant unknowing to them that don't know? I don't know. Let's listen to this clip. It's about 4 minutes long.
Code word for human meat? Wait, what?
Is it?
Hope you are feeling better. Did we analyze the jerky? Why didn't we get jerky this week? I also added more to the jerky and ginger lemongrass. Thank you so much. Super cool. Beef jerky, delicious. Jojo is here and will walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. We'll walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. Why would jerky walk around? Why would it do that? Delicious lunch, beef jerky. Steve and I are very grateful, above all, for your friendship. Some of these emails are so wholesome, aren't they? It's too bad they eat kids. A small insulated bag would be fine. I don't remember checking it. No need for crazy amounts of ice. One should do. There is one bag of beef jerky in the fridge. Please get it. Also, Blank has more at her place. Please get it from her as well. I suppose it needs to be in a cold, insulated bag. Just wanted to touch base about jerky. J.E. said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less jerky. He said he has 6 bags of it in the downstairs freezer. Why would you freeze jerky? Steve?
He's eating regular food again. What is the other food he was eating?
Needs a 6 to 8 ounce portion of jerky. I gave you all the jerky we had, and it lasted only half the amount of time it was meant to. I felt like it was more important for you to have the jerky to eat during my time off. My plan is to make a batch before I leave for LSJ, and some of that will go to Steve, and the rest will go to you at LSJ when I arrive. Little St. James Island. And that's what LSJ must mean. So logically, that means that they were doing this off of the island. Steve Hansen is sending jerky to your attention overnight. I believe it should be enough to get him through. Jeffrey Epstein is asking to bring him more jerky. I'm flying in on Friday. I will bring jerky. Is there a time I could come say hi and drop off the beef jerky? And that's from Jeffrey Epstein. Francis has time to come tomorrow. Show me how to make it. Jerky class anyone. He will bring you to taste his new jerky recipe from the restaurant. He sends a warm hello. He's working at a restaurant called guys, the restaurant's called Cannibal.
It's called Cannibal and Cooks, and I tried to look up the restaurant. I couldn't find it.
Cooks, wait for it, beef jerky and steak. Can Blank make some jerky? I think we should landscape all...
Hang on, let's try and look it up again. Is there a restaurant called something like Cannibal and Cooks that sells jerky? Here's a factually from September the 7th, 2020, which was yesterday. Somebody said this. Executive summary: there is no widely reported restaurant called Cannibal and Cooks, but a small chain brand called The Cannibal, styled as The Cannibal Beer and Butcher, or Cannibal New York City, Cannibal LA, has operated butcher shop restaurants that explicitly sell house-made jerky and branded jerky products, according to multiple food press reports and local coverage. A name close to the rumor, The Cannibal, not Cannibal and Cooks. Reporting shows a pronounced presence of restaurants and butcher shop delis using the name The Cannibal in New York and Los Angeles, with outlets described as beer and butcher hybrids or meat paradises rather than anything titled Cannibal and Cooks. So they do sell jerky, but I don't think it's I don't know if that restaurant exactly exists.
Around the house to use the water if possible. If the main house is not enough, are there any recorded images of Jeffrey Epstein with beef jerky at all? No, there are no recorded or publicly known images of Jeffrey Epstein with beef jerky. Who sends beef jerky to a lab for analysis? Wait, what? I was looking for the beef jerky as I knew it was in my suitcase, and I thought that maybe I left it on the beach, only to find a small plastic bag near my dog's bed. I'll email Francis to make us some more, as I need 6 to 8 ounces to send to the lab, and I'll forward to Francis the info to send to the lab directly. Guys, I think something's going on. What's this here? Commercial. Apparently it's his last girlfriend who's active on Twitter right now. Check the mail. Names for hers again. Oh boy, oh boy. People are saying this is Jeffrey Epstein's last girlfriend.
That's the girlfriend, and he's emailing her about the jerky.
Name as inside of the files, and her name change hasn't occurred since 2017.
Karina Shuliak, the one he was going to leave the $50 million to on the island.
Released. After years of silence, the truth. Jeffrey was innocent. I really? Like, he just a good boy? He didn't do nothing wrong? Trapped by powerful people who silenced him. I was his last confidant, and I have the evidence that they're still hiding. I'm not suicidal, just in case. You'll know the whole truth soon. They sacrificed children to Lucifer. It's an entire cult. Jeffrey got involved in their operation for financial reasons and to obtain Combraprat, but never participated in the rituals. Oh, what is this here? I'll pull this one up and see it. That's crazy. She cooked in the brain? Maybe. She ate the brain? Yeah, maybe she did. Wire transfer request form. A 65-gallon... Guys, 655-gallon sulfuric acid with fuel and insurance charge? They are dissolving bodies.
Could be a sausage-making press down there that they're doing. They're making the kids into sausage after they use them up. I don't know. That would be a way to get rid of the bodies, right? Who else was making this? Wasn't that in the chocolate guy, right? Wasn't he making the kids into food? There's a common thing in a lot of the fairy tales, right? Same thing with the what was it, Hansel and Gretel, right? The witch is going to put them in the pot, right? She's going to make them into like a stew, right? So is the jerky just a slang term for, we're eating these kids? Is it because there was other thing? Remember if you think about, Podesta had that recipe for the sauce, right? What was it? That was supposedly like the brains, right? And it was the walnut sauce, right? Remember they kept talking about that walnut sauce was unbelievable. What was that special thing that you had, right? Well, it was probably some part of a kid. Does jerky equal child meat? Why is jerky mentioned over 383 times in the Epstein files? That's a lot of people talking about beef jerky. I never knew beef jerky was that popular. Well, it might be if it's human beef jerky. Armed migrant robbery crew busted after New York City holdup, immediately released without bail. So you just let these guys ride out. They're holding up stores. They're armed, which means if you commit a felony, if you commit a robbery with a loaded weapon, it becomes armed robbery. It becomes a worse crime, right? Same thing if like you rob a bank with a weapon, and the weapon's loaded, it's a whole other crime then, right? It's a felony. More felony charges get. It's armed robbery, it's called, because you're armed. Carries a stiffer sentence. But these guys got right back out. No bail. No bail. Right back out. Right back out. No bail. After getting caught in a holdup. Usually you get caught in an armed robbery, you're going away for, at least 10 years. Maybe more. Not anymore. Davos CEO Borge Brendy investigated for Epstein connection. UPI News. Meet the Ivy League activist and socialist union boss who's exporting California's anti-ICE chaos nationwide. So that's what I got sort of right now. What is the beef jerky talking about? It sounds like they're talking about eating human beings again. Right? We were talking about cannibalism before many times over these years, but you never get the positive, like you never get the proof of it, right? Like, are they making adrenochrome with these kids, and then they just, on top of that, then they're eating them? Right. Well, that's, I told you, remember the Aztecs, what they used to do, or was it the Inca? I can't remember. They would cut your heart out when you were still alive, and they'd eat part of it. Right? They were eating the adrenalized blood that you were pumping your blood full of as they're chopping your heart out of your chest while you're still alive, right? That's what some people used to do. And they were labeled as the ones that were in the know. They were the ruling class. They were the chosen ones. They were the ones that were, the religious people, the religious ones who apparently had the secret knowledge. But all they were really doing was doing cannibalistic stuff, right? Chopping people's hearts out while they were still alive and saying it was, to be given to the gods for a good crop harvest, right? Which was a bunch of bullshit. Why is beef jerky mentioned 383 times in the Epstein files? Why isn't the mainstream press properly reporting on the fact that Trump is involved in the files? He's mentioned many different times in the files. Epstein's tunnels are access is, we know that there was tunnels on Epstein Island, right? We see the tunnel. Why were those tunnels allowed to be filled in without any kind of proper investigation of the tunnels before he was allowed to fill it in? Why was the raid that happened on Epstein Island well after the fact, where he had ample time to scrub the island clean of anything that might have been illegal, that might have gotten him in trouble? So there's all these questions still floating around. Does the Epstein files touch Trump? Yeah, but it doesn't seem like he's getting in any trouble for it yet. It's starting to affect certain people that were in the files. Gates has been diminished. People, you haven't heard from any of the other people that we're seeing, like people like Noam Chomsky hasn't issued any public statements, or, people like Naomi Campbell, who's been noted to have flown on the plane many times. Chris Tucker's made no public statement. You haven't even seen Chris Tucker in public in a long time. A lot of these people seem to have gone to ground or have gone underground somewhere, or they're not coming back out because they're either in an alternate universe, they're in the space between universe. I don't know where the hell these people are, but they're not here. And we're not getting the justice that we thought we were going to get in. But what you're starting to see is that there's a whole bunch of people that are eating other people. There's people that are involved in these groups that are satanic, right? That they worship the devil and they eat other people. And there's more evidence of this now, because why would beef jerky be mentioned so many times? Are these people that adamant about beef jerky, or is there something else about beef jerky? Is beef jerky code for child meat or human meat or whatever? So we will continue to watch and report on news events as they happen. We'll continue to talk about these things as they happen. We'll continue to bring what we think is the real information out, and not try to do what others are doing, one of these other pundits are doing, which is they're trying to sort of manufacture the reality when the reality is not showing what they're saying, right? And they're still talking about JFK Jr.'s alive. They're still talking about all this stuff that hasn't happened. So friends, I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. We'll continue to watch and see where we go from here. This is your friend in New York, Ash, NPNP News, signing off for now.